All right, long meeting. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, we will now reconvene and announce closed session actions. Madam City Attorney.
Item number 1, the City Council received a status report. Item number 2, the City Council voted unanimously to authorize the city's legal counsel to initiate litigation, the details of which will be available in the city clerk's office once the litigation has commenced in Superior Court. Item number 3, the City Council received a status report and gave direction to its legal counsel. And item number 4, the last item, the City Council receives a status report and the City Council majority gave direction to its real property negotiators, with Councilmember Saab voting no and Mayor Rodriguez abstaining. And that ends the closed session report.
The special City Council meeting is now adjourned. I'd like to call to order the regular City Council meeting. Deputy Clerk Chavez, will you please take roll?
Councilmember Ashton,
Present.
Councilmember Frometa,
Present.
Councilmember Saab,
Here.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Present.
Councilmember Mayor Rodriguez.
Here. I'd now like to call one of our planning commissioners to do our invocation, Navarez Frometa. Please rise.
Let's bow our heads. Thank you, Father, for this afternoon, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for everyone that is attending this meeting here today, Lord. I pray, Father, for the City Council, the City of Downey, for the Fire Department, for the Police Department, and all the members of the city, Father. We pray that the decisions that are being made today for our community will be the best, and that the City Council will use the best judgment for every topic that will be discussed. May you pray. We pray for that the outcomes are the best for our citizens and for our city. In your heavenly Father's name, in Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please remain standing. I'd like to call up Giselle Scott for the flag salute.
Please place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Okay, it's now time for our council member announcements and requests for future agenda items. So let's report out, beginning with my big little brother to my left, Councilman Saab.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome, everyone. Hope everybody had a pleasant Independence Day long weekend. Nice to be back. I do want to recognize a few people in the audience. Our Planning Commissioner, Noveras Frometa, representing District 5. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. There he is. And also former Mayor Dave Gaffin, who's in the audience. And I think Dave is representing the Chamber of Commerce tonight as well. Sure. Okay. Very well. And then I also want to welcome, I know she's going to be recognized later on, but I won't have an opportunity to speak, but I do want to recognize Becky Guerrero, who's, I think she's here with her family. I saw her earlier, but she's, and then the mayor's going to say some, and I'm sure our staff is going to say some nice things about her, but I want to say thank you, Becky, for all your incredible passion for the city and always having a smile on your face and just a pleasant to always be around and bump into you, and also working with you in CWAC, the Southeast Water Coalition, when Downey was the lead agency there, and you did a great job as always. So we're going to miss you, but we're happy for you at the same time. And thank you again on behalf of the city. I'll keep my comments short. Just a few events that are coming up. Remind everyone that I think it's the final concert in the park. Is it the final one? No, there was one more. Concert in the park tomorrow at Furman. Tomorrow's a real special one. It's the Marine Division Band. Always draws a nice crowd, and that's at 7 o'clock. I think most people start getting here about 6. Make sure you bring your chairs. And then on Monday at the Downey Theater is the Summer Library Show Kids Imagination. It's a magic. The magic show is the following week. It's going to be a show at the Downey Theater, and then for those who also appreciate the incredible space history in the city of Downey, next week the Space Center will be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11, and there's going to be many events. And we're going to be voting tonight whether to allow admission to be free. But I encourage you to go on the website, the Facebook page, and try to make one of the events. There's going to be some speakers and event for all people of all ages, kids and adults. So everyone is welcome. And lastly, this isn't really for staff, but I guess it would be for our mayor. I think that it would be nice maybe in the near future, maybe sometime later this year, if we can hold, I don't think we've done it before, if we can hold a council meeting on the south side of town to maybe engage some of the residents in the south, make sure that they know that, of course, we're listening. Maybe we can hold a council meeting at either the Space Center or BJR. I think it would be a nice thing. I mean, I think it's at the mayor's discretion. I don't think it's anything that we need to vote on, but I thought it would be, I think City of LA was doing something like that. I read in the paper, and I thought, we've never done it before, so
That's a great idea.
why not?
That's a great idea.
Why not do that?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
all right, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, moving on. Councilmember Frometa, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to have everybody here tonight. I know I repeat this quite often, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited when I see a lot of you in attendance. I believe that engaged communities make for strong communities. I do also want to recognize a couple of people in the audience. Of course, my husband and Planning Commissioner, Mr. Noveras Frometa. Thank you for being here. And also former Mayor Dave Gaffin, who was just recognized a bit ago. And someone that is always everywhere in the community, and it is a joy to have here tonight, School Board Member Martha Soretani. Thank you for being here tonight. Just a couple of comments. We had a very nice 4th of July here in Downey, and I want to give a shout out to our fire chief and our police chief. Thank you both. Your departments always taking care of our residents, taking care of our city. We had only 32 citations this past July 4th, and in comparison to 2018, that's a drop of almost 50%. In 2017, we had over 90 citations, and then in 2018, we had about 64, I want to say, or a little bit 62, 64. Anyway, this time around, really good response. So thank you for that. Also, as we all felt, perhaps some of us more than others, we felt that earthquake, July 4th and then July 5th. And as you know, my background being emergency management, we were busy at work, making sure all of our medical facilities were okay, and they were. But this is really a strong reminder. Those of us have been in California for many years. We are waiting for that big one, whenever that is. And so rather than going on Facebook and getting panicky posts, we need to remind ourselves and our neighbors and our friends to have those emergency kits ready. The city of Downey is very fortunate to have a very dynamic emergency manager, and she does a phenomenal job at getting our city and the city resources prepared. In fact, we just voted a couple of sessions ago, on the city's emergency operations plan. And so I want to encourage you and those that are watching us online through our live stream to please go to our website and make sure that you get on the alerts. And also, this is a perfect opportunity, as I said, to make sure you have your emergency kit ready and your communications plan ready, because we live in California, and so the other earthquake is just around the corner. And those of us that love this place, we're not going anywhere. So on that note, there's been a lot of activity throughout our city with neighborhood watch meetings throughout our districts. And so I want to thank District 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course citywide for hosting those neighborhood watch meetings. If you know of someone that is still wondering how to get involved, how to attend, please make sure you contact Jenny Aguirre with our police department. There is a neighborhood watch meeting coming up on Tuesday, July 30th, on Cecilia Street. And again, we have these up on our website, and depending the location where you live, there's certainly block captains and people that can give you additional information on how to get more involved. Lastly, I do want to, as Councilmember Saab indicated, we are very fortunate to have the rich history in Downey with the space history. And I want to recognize the Executive Director, Ben Dicko, and the wonderful job that he does with the Discovery Space Center. And as Councilmember Saab indicated, from July 16th through the 20th, there is a number of activities that are planned throughout that week in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, and the fact that Downey had such a tremendous also contribution to that spacecraft. So please get involved, look at our website, and there's a lot of happenings around our town with Measure S, and all that information is also on our website as far as the parks and the happenings regarding the ongoing construction of our fire stations. And that will conclude my comments, Mr. Mayor. Have a good evening, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to Councilmember Sean Ashton.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending. Glad to see we all survived the Women's World Cup victory and the Mexico Gold Cup victory. So good to see some good sporting events going on over the weekend to kind of help relieve some of the tension of the earthquakes. But I'd like to thank Councilmember Frometa for bringing up all the emergency preparedness stuff. My daughter's going to be coming back home soon, and she's like, we got to get on this already. So that it's good. I appreciate that. Thank you. Wanted to say thank you to our Public Works Director. Thank you for all the work you've been doing on the medians at the south end of the city on Paramount. The new Downey sign is well. The residents down there really appreciate all the attention that's getting there, and hopefully now we can get those medians built a little bit further up, a little bit quicker, because it sucks driving on Paramount now. So With that, I did want to give an opportunity for the police chief and the fire chief to kind of go ahead and comment on the 4th of July activity that happened. Before I do that, though, I did have a person in the audience I did want to recognize. So we have from Assembly Member Christina Garcia's office, Chad Oberly, who's in attendance as well. And if I'll go ahead, and I don't have anything else to say, but I will pass the rest of my time over to the police chief and the fire chief so they can comment on the 4th of July events that happened.
Thank you, Councilman Ashton. Just a quick response with regard to the specific numbers surrounding this July 4th. Councilmember Fermetta had mentioned some numbers, but I just want to add some perspective to it. In 2016, during the course of the day on July 4th, so that 24-hour period, we responded, the police department, this is not with regard to fire department calls, just police department calls. We received and responded on 314 calls regarding fireworks in 2016. In 2017, the number dropped to 214. Last year, the number rose in 2018 to 258. And this year, the number was at 120. So it's actually half the number. I know some people might say that people just aren't calling because they're frustrated that nothing can be done. But quite honestly, being the folks out there, getting the response from the people that were out there, that it was a tremendous difference this year from the last years with regard to the overall number of deployment of illegal fireworks. And I know people heard them probably in every area of the city, no doubt. But the volume of the fireworks and the time frame was greatly reduced from years past. So that's nice to see. Hopefully that had something to do with the city's efforts on the notifications, the discussion of the fines, the positioning of the messaging boards, all the flyers and the materials that went out. So hopefully that had something to do with it. Hopefully residents are just being a little bit more caring of their neighbors and what's going on in the city. But that was nice to see that the number of calls had greatly diminished. We did issue a large number of citations this year comparatively. I know you mentioned one number, but the number that I have officially gotten from our records folks as of now that have been inputted is there's 54 citations that we issued for the use of or possession of illegal fireworks on the 4th of July. So we had issued in, I think it was 68 or 69 the previous year, and up in the 90s in 2017. So the number has gone down for the number of issued, but percentage-wise versus the calls for service, it's still well above the overall percentage of calls that we got versus the violations that we actually issued citations for. So unfortunately, we didn't have any major incidents on our end this year as we had in previous years with different fires erupting that caused us to divert a lot of our forces. We had 20 extra police officers in the field on the 4th of July, which is generally our busiest night. We always like to have as many folks out there as we can to address the issues that they come up. But as I mentioned this year, the folks were really able to focus on fireworks and other calls for service that came up, but there was fortunately no other major pressing issues that happened. So.
And I think there were a few also leading up to 4th of July. In other years, it seems like it's like a whole week before people. This year, it didn't seem like there were as much.
We issue a lot of citations through the year, which are not included in this, for safe and sane fireworks, even that are set off outside of the time frames. But yes, the response that we've gotten from everybody is that the time frame for the week to 10 days beforehand was greatly diminished, as well as the hours. A lot of people were saying that in their neighborhoods anyways, we kind of reached out to different people in different neighborhoods who had complained in the past about the firework issues, and that the fireworks that they were dealing with in the past would go on well past midnight. And this year, a lot of them were stating that a lot of it was done by 10 o'clock or so, so at least to shorten some of the hours that they were dispersing them as well.
Yes, Council. I'm pleased to report that also the fire department had a relatively light evening on July 4th. It was kind of a routine number of call volume. It was approximately 32 calls for the entire day, 8 of which were fireworks related. They were all minor, fortunately. And most importantly, no injuries resulted. The 8 fires consisted of a wood shake roof fire, which are a combustible roof. A wood covered roof. Also vegetation fires and rubbish fires as well, just on the proper disposal. I think our last incident included was approximately 11:30 at night on a fireworks related incident. We also responded into Compton on 2 structure fires as well.
Thank you, Chief. So again, thank you both for those numbers. So that there was 32 fire-related calls and 54 citations regarding fireworks. So thank you. Thank you for providing clarity on the numbers. Appreciate it.
And with that concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Sean. Moving on to Mayor Pro Tem Blanca Pacheco.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I did want to recognize a couple of people in the audience. We have Michael Calvert from the Chamber of Commerce, the Executive Director. We also have Blanca Rochine. She is a Parks and Recs Commissioner and Downey Adult School Principal. And I did also want to recognize my mate student and the individual who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Giselle Scott, who's in the back with her parents. So I also want to welcome everyone here at our council meeting. It's always a pleasure seeing everyone here. I hope everyone had a happy and safe 4th of July. And I also want to thank our police and fire chief. Thank you for all the hard work that you put in. Thank you for the reports. Glad to hear things have improved in our city in regards to the illegal fireworks, and it's all thanks to your efforts. So thank you very much. Also wanted to mention a couple of upcoming events. We have the Lions Club. They're having their awards banquet on Thursday from 6 to 8:30 at Los Amigos Golf Course. And also did want to mention that Council Member Claudia Fermetta and I, we're spearheading this program, Girls on Fire, where we're inviting high school and middle school girls to join us on a 3-day workshop. I'm happy to announce that so far we have 100 girls registered, and we have 5 on the wait list. And so it's going to be a good program. And if you know of any other girls who may be interested in this program, please look it up on our website because it is going to be, again, a great program. Our new location now will be at Downey High School. So I want to thank our Councilwoman Claudia Fermetta for helping me on this project.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. We both agreed that we wanted to take on this girls empowerment event this year, and we knew, and I'm not surprised, that in a matter of a few weeks we reached capacity, and we realized that the need for empowering our young women during the transitional stage that is middle school, those are pivotal years. And so we are excited to have this collaboration between city and district. And Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco, it is a pleasure, and I think this is the beginning of what is going to be a greater program in years to come. So
I agree.
Thank you.
So thank you. And also, I did want to mention, as you all know, we had 2 major earthquakes last week on Thursday and Friday. And so what I'm concerned about is making sure that our city is well prepared. So you all have to make sure that you're prepared, making sure that you have your backpacks ready, make sure you have enough water, make sure that you have the supplies, and you know you have a plan set of where you're going to meet your loved ones in case all communication fails. We do have CERT training, so if you want to get involved in CERT training, that is an option as well. But what I wanted to see if staff can do is maybe add on our Downey website what exactly we need in regards to our earthquake kits, so that way people, it's already on there? Okay, there's a link, and it says what is exactly needed?
Yes.
Okay.
Make the link
I
bigger.
know, because I actually looked for it, I couldn't find it.
We'll double check it and make sure that everything that you want in there is in there, so
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you. And that concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. So, good evening, and thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to sit in this seat as mayor of our beautiful city of Downey. A lot has gone on since our last city council meeting. We had our Coyote Town Hall meeting, and I always give credit where credit's due with our staff, because I believe that our staff is the finest staff in the world when it comes to city business. And so, Vanya De La Rosas, I have to give her please, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for her, please. You know, we talked about this idea of coyotes, and it wasn't a sexy topic to talk about, like kids or veterans or anything else. It was a kind of a crisis moment because of people losing their animals and so forth. So Vanya and I, we took it on, and we developed a coyote management plan. We developed a volunteer committee, and we really started to take this on. And we're really starting to see things turn our way now. And we're very fortunate to have Brian Heyman in the audience that's helping us as a volunteer. And so I'm very thankful, Vanya. Thank you for joining me in our quest for our coyote town hall meeting. It was a very well attended. We had a lot of people show up, and a lot of people at the end of it, you know, and this is what we work for, right? The thanks from our residents. Nobody hung me. They all wanted to thank me, so that was a good thing, you know. So, and then secondly, another good praise report. Downey Care Collaborative. Downey Care Collaborative is a volunteer group that partners with DCFS, with probation, high school counselors, park and recreation, our clergy, and our veterans group, and we sit and we talk about the idea of our foster children. And our foster children, you know, I've been told and I've been taught that our foster children are 50% more likely to become homeless, become incarcerated, not graduate, have some form of addiction. And so I said, how do we attack this? How do we attack this to help our kids, our Downey kids that are foster kids? So we created the Downey Care Collaborative. And all these volunteer groups came together, and we started to go after, and I give credit where credit's due. And so Martha Sototani in the office, please, a big round of applause for Martha. Martha, she taught me about this business, and we had 160 foster kids that were not just in our city, but our surrounding cities, and 30 which are seniors in our city. And this year, and this first time ever, this year, all 160, every single one of them graduated high school. And so that's huge. So that's a big deal, because those kids now have a fair shot. They got a fair shot of tomorrow, junior college, a four-year college, trade school, a job, you know, working somewhere in our city. But they've got a good shot now to avoid that piece of homelessness. And I think if you want to stop homelessness, if you want to end it, you got to stop it. So anyway, so also this coming Thursday, Business Watch, July 11th at 9 o'clock in these chambers. I would encourage those of you that if you're in business, or even if you're not in business, the topic is identity theft. And I'll tell you that more crimes are done now with a keyboard or a smartphone than a pistol. So it's to your benefit. Be here. We'll have keynote experts to come here and talk about, help us become safe and secure within our identity theft. Also, as my colleagues mentioned about the emergency preparedness, you know, we're very fortunate. We have on our council colleagues, we have one of us who's emergency manager, and Claudia was the first one on the phone with all of us and texting us and make sure we're safe. But at the same time, Racty Cloak, our fire department emergency manager, she was on it, and she was on it. She's been on it. She's been preparing. She's been helping us be prepared. So I was very fortunate that as the mayor, no mayor wants to get the phone call in the middle of the night when there's crisis mode. And I was very fortunate our police and fire, along with our volunteers from CERT and emergency preparedness, were you know, really taking care of this for our city. I want to briefly mention a few things, talk about Downey Fire. So I understand, and only because I live on Facebook, I understand that Mario Camarina, Wesley Peterson, Jonathan Petit, Freddie Salas, and Wilson Tatsui, that began their training back in 2017 of July, completed the department grueling recruitment drill tower, and recently have finished their probationary process. So I think a big round of applause for your new guys. And then while I'm talking about firemen, because I got a lot to talk about with firemen, I'm talking about with firemen, you know, this really touched my heart, this story. It touched my heart about a 7-year-old Joshua that was diagnosed with brain cancer. And he's been battling it now for a few years now, since 2015. And so, but his desire was to be a firefighter. So our fire department made this little boy's dream come true. And he dressed as a fireman, he dressed with turnout gear, he rode in a fire truck, and these guys spent the day with him. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, firefighters. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome. So I was gone for a little bit. I was at a conference for, it's called the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Myself and 340 mayors around the country, we met, and I'm so proud to tell you, as your mayor, how far along we are in comparison to other cities in America. Other cities in America that don't have a clergy council, that don't have their own fire police, that don't have their own Downey Care Collaborative, that don't have their own SIACA board of directors, that don't have their own cemetery committee. They don't have that, and they struggle. And I was so proud to watch and learn and listen at this conference. But one of my favorite things that I've been able to accomplish as an elected official is my passion for pets and for veterans, our Pets for Vets. And so I told that story to Petco, that was one of the key sponsors, and they bragged about it throughout America. And so now it's not only become the Pets for Vets program as well as the Mayor's Choice, where dogs are given away for free at SIACA to the tune of one per month. 7 other cities on a joint power authority is now doing it. And at the same time, this idea is now being passed around America, and Petco is now sharing our idea to other cities. So a big thank you for that conference, because I was able to learn a lot. So thank you for allowing me to be part of that. Let's see what else. And lastly, before I forget, Kim Tachiki Chin just walked to the door. And so I want to say a big hello. She's our field representative for Congressmember Lucille Roybal Allard. So thank you, Kim, for being here. Okay, that's it for me. Let's go do a presentation or two.
It's family time. Or are you guys going? No, but are you going to come back early? You don't know yet. We'll do. I'll deal with it.
So, Joanne Wittenberg, you've got a lot of friends around here. So, Joanne, why don't you come up first, then I'll call the rest of the Army to talk about you. So, I'll say a few words about Joanne real quickly. I don't really know her as well as everybody else in the audience, but Joanne she really is the epitome of the Mayor's Servant Heart Award. I've been told, I see pictures of your work. You know, she takes it upon herself to kind of clean the headstones of our cemetery for our veterans. I mean, you can't get any better than that. So I wanted to recognize her as the Mayor's Servant Heart Award. And then I also want to call up Martha, Dave Gaffin, you want to come up? Brian, you want to come up? Pam, you want to come up? These are people who work with her, and I want them to tell their story.
Thank you. I don't know if I speak or... This all began looking for my ancestors across the U.S., and I started cleaning their graves. I'd first find them on Find a Grave, and then I went around and started cleaning their graves. I've covered 10 states, and I'm doing the 11th state, New York, next month. And Canada, I'm going to do 10 graves for a friend. And we have a Downey citizen that is in the DAR with me, Daughters of the American Revolution, and she asked me if I'd be interested in cleaning graves for Downey District Cemetery. And I go, sure, I'd love to. And she said, okay, will you come to one of our meetings? So I came to one of the meetings, and I didn't realize that it was such a big deal to get accepted to clean tombstones. And it took me 3 months to get approved. You have to use the right chemicals. I had to prove myself, and it turned out good. I learned a lot through the process, and I just did the tombstones. They weren't all military, all veterans, but I would like to come back and complete the flat stones too for the veterans. But I did 225 stones at Downey District Cemetery, and I get a lot from it. I can't explain it, but it's sort of a natural high, and I just feel like I connected with the souls that are there, and it motivates me. And it was like you look at a canvas, and when you're cleaning it, it's like an hour later you have a totally different look, and you can read what was there, and a lot of them are 130 years old. I saw a lot of old stones there, a lot of old souls. So that's it, and I appreciate everything. Thanks for the opportunity.
Backing up just a little bit, Joanne was an airline attendant with Continental Airlines, and her husband Kip, who's in the back, was a pilot, and they each bid to fly the MAC trips, and those are the military airlift command trips over to Vietnam in the late 60s. And at that time, the government subsidized the airlines to fly soldiers to Vietnam and back. Joanne and her husband are now retired after long and successful careers. But the most remarkable flight for each of them was in November of 1969, when they were on the same flight taking, and it was a MAC trip, going to Da Nang with soldiers who were right out of boot camp. And they have now, so they've been together for 50 years since then, which is really an accomplishment. And Joanne has studied the proper methods to clean the stones, and she's quite good at that and respected in her field. As she mentioned, a lot of the stones are over 100 years old, and that by Memorial Day weekend, she had restored 225. And she said, with her back cooperating, the flat stones of at least the veterans, she will do. And as she mentioned, she feels a special closeness with those whose stones she cleans. And she said it's of a spiritual nature, and that is her reward. And she really didn't seek thanks. There are many cemeteries in the United States needing attention, and we in Downey are most fortunate to have Joanne Wittenberg giving of her time, resources, and talent. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Martha.
Hi, Joanne. I'm David Gaffin, along with my vice chair, Brian Heyman. We are 2/3 of the Downey Cemetery Board. As was mentioned by Joanne, several months ago, she approached us with this idea. We had no idea that anything like that could actually be done. And she came back several times to give us examples of what went down. And I kind of approached her and asked, why do you do this? And as she kind of said, it's an act of love, basically, that she has. It's an obsession that she has, that she wants to accomplish this. And we are so grateful to her for coming and taking care of these headstones. And when you mentioned that you wanted to come back, we emphatically said, yes, please do. So whenever you're ready to do that, and I think you want to wait until after the summer we had the discussion, please, in our September meeting, please come back and we can proceed along that point and figure out what we need to do next. But outside of that, I'd like to thank you on behalf of Brian, our board, Pam Pass, our director, for everything that you have done for us, and we look forward to your future work that you're going to be with us, and we just personally thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pam, if you can help me with this.
Sure, I would be happy to.
Can you place that on her? Yes. So we're going to give you a city pin. You know, only the cool kids get the city pin. So Joanne, the Mayor and Servant Heart Award is something that we kind of created for the idea of people do above and beyond the average Call of Duty. So with that in mind, I want to give you my challenge going from the mayor. I have to give you a handshake like that.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
And then also we want to present you with this in recognition of your selfless dedication always going above and beyond for others. Your heartfelt efforts and accomplishments have been of enormous value to our community and have helped to further the common goal of making our city a better place for all. Given this day, if I meet the mayor, Rick Rodriguez.
Very special. Thank you. I'm very impressed you spelled my name right, because it's kind of an unusual spelling. And I worked with Continental for 45 years, and my retirement was not spelt. The certificate wasn't spelled right, so I'm very impressed.
I can't
Thank
tell you.
you.
I knew everything how to spell it. No, I'm just kidding. That's our staff. They do that. They know that stuff.
No, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this reward. It's very special. It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. Thank
Take
you.
pictures. Okay. Yep. One more. Hold on, Joanne. Don't go anywhere. We got somebody else here. We got a few people here. So Kim Tachiki Chin from Lucio Roy by Allard, member of Congress, like to talk to you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Congresswoman Roybal Allard, I too would like to thank Joanne for all the work that she's done. And I heard that you're not done. You're actually going to continue on to do other types of cleaning, correct? And so, but for this particular occasion, since you're being honored as the Servant's Heart Award, we wanted to show our appreciation. It's just a very small token, and in recognizing you for the work. I heard you finished like right before we started, so on Memorial Day, right? So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for Martha for letting us know about this story. Again, we really appreciate all that you've done for our veterans and their families. Thank you.
And my name's Chad from Assemblywoman Garcia's office, and on her behalf, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. I got a chance to visit the cemetery with Mayor Pro Tem and the mayor and Courage Forward, and it really looked great. So again, I just want to say thank you and keep up the great work.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No. Oh, yeah, maybe you should. Okay, so now the moment we've all been waiting for, in recognition of retiring employee of 26 years of service, Rebecca Guerrero, Public Works Department. Rebecca, please join me up here. Delfino, will you please join me up here? You go first.
Yeah. Becky, you're going to stand up here while I embarrass you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, city staff, and the community. Rebecca, or Becky, as everyone knows her, is retiring after more than 37 years of service to the community. That doesn't mean she's old, mind you. She just started young. In fact, Becky began her career in city government when she was only 18 years old. She spent most of her career working for Parks and Recreation. She made sure I mentioned that, Pam. Serving in different capacities, including secretary, event specialist, recreation coordinator, trips and tours coordinator, and senior center supervisor. Over the last 37 years, Becky has had the opportunity to work for 4 cities, including Commerce for 16 years, Fullerton for 2 years, Pico Rivera for 4 years, and finally here in Downey for the last 15 years. In between her stints in Commerce and Fullerton, she worked for the Diocese of Orange for 2 years as secretary at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in La Habra. Becky began her career here in Downey in 2004 and has had the privilege of working in 4 departments. She started in finance as a cashier and worked there for 2 years. In 2006, she was promoted to executive secretary for community development. She then transferred to Parks and Rec in 2011, and she has been the executive secretary for Public Works since July of 2012. 7 years in Public Works, including 1 year working with me, and I drove her to retirement. Go figure that one. Seriously, I've had the pleasure of working with Becky this past year. I first met her when I came into HR to fill out my paperwork a week before I started. Becky was so warm and accommodating. Even with that first encounter, I felt like I've known her all along. She took me around the department where I met most of my staff at that time. Becky definitely made me feel welcome from day one. By the time I walked into my office on my first day, everything was ready and I was good to go. Becky is a master of surprises. She got me really good twice in my first 6 months. The first time was Boss's Day last year. I remember I was up in San Francisco on a weekend and Becky texted me that she wanted to take me out to lunch the following week. So I texted her back and I told her, yeah, definitely we can go out to lunch, but only on one condition. It would be my treat. So Boss's Day came, we went to Johnny Carino's here in Downey. As soon as we walked in, I immediately saw 2 of my staff sitting at a table. I figured they were probably having lunch there just by coincidence. As we got closer, however, I saw the rest of my admin staff sitting at the same table. It was only then it finally dawned on me that the surprise was on me, but lunch was on them, so that was still a good deal for me. The second time she got me was right before the Christmas holidays. It was late in the afternoon. I was tired when I saw Becky and my staff charging into my office. First, I thought there was a mutiny going on until they all started singing happy birthday. I guess Becky rounded up everyone to greet me for my birthday. What a pleasant surprise. Becky is the official city party planner and organizer, again because of her Parks and Rec background. Aside from being actively involved in the Employee Engagement Committee, planning events like Holiday Potluck and the Employee Summer Picnic, she was also in charge of the annual Public Works Week breakfast. Every year she coordinated the breakfast event, from sending out invitations, reserving BJR, decorating the hall, ordering the plaques, putting together the program, and ordering food. This year's event, which was held a few weeks ago, was another tremendous success, mostly due to Becky's hard work. All I had to do was to show up, and I almost didn't make it on time. Becky is joined by her family here tonight, her husband of 30 years, Michael, their 2 daughters, Carly and Maggie, her sister, Yolanda, brother-in-law, Juan, and did Brother Michael make it? Okay, he's here. There you go. Oh, okay, and niece and nephew. So one of the reasons why Becky is retiring early is to be able to spend more time with her family, especially with Maggie, who will be starting high school next month. Her immediate retirement plans include volunteering, enjoying simple and long vacations, and being a broker of fun. She plans to set up her own business, One Day Fun Day Tours. Not exactly sure what that means, but I'm imagining there's a bus going to Pechanga, San Manuel, or Vegas, drinks with little fancy umbrellas. Becky, I will definitely miss working with you. Good luck on your business venture. Congratulations and best wishes on your retirement.
Okay. So Becky, first off, we start off with a city pin. Probably don't need this anymore, but. Do it. And then secondly, we want to give you a mayor's challenge card.
Oh, nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then we have a little certificate of recognition on behalf of the citizens of Downey in recognition of your 15 years of serving the community of Downey. Congratulations on your retirement from the city of Downey, given this day by myself and my colleagues.
Thank
You can clap now.
Thank you.
And then, look at this thing. This goes to the cool kids here. Presented to Rebecca Guerrero on behalf of the citizens of Downey in recognition of your 15 years of civil service on your retirement from the city of Downey, and it's a city title. Okay, come on.
Well, I wrote something up, but I'm not going to look at my paper. First off, I want to thank you, Mayor Rodriguez, Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco, Council Members Saab, Rometa, and Ashton, City Manager Gilbert Levis, Assistant City Manager John Osqui, and of course my boss, Delfino Consunji, and Ed Norris. I see you out there. Come on, Ed.
Come on.
And to the rest of the executive staff, thank you so much. This honorable mention for my retirement means so much to me. It came about quickly, and I'm excited, but I've been crying every day coming to work. I don't know what's going on. But it's just because my heart and soul goes into my work, and I do appreciate every department I've been in. Made me grow closer to Downey. So I'm not going to look at my paper. But I just want to let you know, the people, the community, the employees, thank you, Gilbert, for always giving your support to the employees. Our employee picnic's a hit, you know. We still need the dunk tank, but that's okay. We got the salsa contest, so. But I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna probably go through withdrawals of coming to work or something, but I'm excited to be a wife and a mother, making coffee, I don't know, making lunch, I don't know. It'll be a new thing for me. But I do want to do some monthly trips, and if you want to join me, join the Elks. Ooh. They got me, so I'm going to be doing some trips for them and doing some group travels. So maybe you guys can join me one day. And thank you, City of Downey, from the bottom of my heart. My family thanks you too. Thank you, family, for being here. Thank you.
Congratulations. All the best to you.
Okay, the next proclamation will be for the Parks Make Better Life Better. Pam, you want to come up and give me a hand?
Thank you, Mary Rodriguez. And I would like to bring up our Parks and Recreation team. It's just a small part of our team. But we have here today management analyst Leif Lovgren and recreation supervisors Heidi Lockwood and Monica Ortiz. As you can tell, we've been recreating. So I would like to thank Mayor Rodriguez and the members of the City Council for recognizing and proclaiming July is Parks Make Life Better month. Every day, 365 days a year, we live that and we love parks, and we recognize that parks do make life better, and we hear about it every day. So I wanted to share a couple statistics. I should have chosen a better word, right? Because I thought it would be fun. And I know we all like fun in Parks and Recreation. So a few things. We have about 1,200 students that enjoy our Aspire after-school educational program. We have about 7,000 recreation swim and swim lesson participants. We have over 10,000 participants of recreation classes that range from crafts to dancing to martial arts. We have golfers play over 60,000 rounds of golf at Rio Hondo Golf Club. Over 100,000 patrons attend events and programs at the Downey Theater. There are more than 100,000 bus rides on the Downey Link. And about 1.9 million patrons visit Downey Parks. And we expect that after our Measure S improvements in the parks that we should be hitting over 2 million. So we're very excited about this, and we just wanted to say thank you for making parks make life better. Want me to read this? Okay, so this is, maybe I should have brought my glasses. July is Parks Make Life Better month, whereas Parks and Recreation promotes physical, emotional, and mental health and wellness through organized and self-directed fitness, play, and activity. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports the economic vitality of communities by attracting new businesses, promoting community revitalization, increasing tourism, providing jobs, and generating revenues. And whereas Parks and Recreation creates memorable experiences through engaging programs, dynamic events, and new opportunities designed to get people involved in their communities. And whereas Parks and Recreation fosters social cohesiveness in communities by celebrating diversity, providing inclusive services, modeling compassion, promoting social equity, connecting social networks, and ensuring all people have access to its benefits. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports human development and endless learning opportunities that foster social, intellectual, physical, and emotional growth in people of all ages and abilities. And whereas Parks and Recreation sustains and stewards our natural resources by protecting habitats and open space, connecting people to nature, and promoting the ecological function of parkland. And whereas Parks and Recreation strengthens community identity by providing facilities and services that reflect and celebrate community character, heritage, culture, history, aesthetics, and landscape. And whereas Parks and Recreation facilities community problem and issue proclamation through the application of the skills of its community stakeholders in community engagement, collaboration, and leadership, such as our City Council. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports safe, vibrant, attractive, progressive communities that make life better through positive alternatives offered in the recreational opportunities. And whereas the California Parks and Recreation Society has released a statewide public awareness campaign, Parks Make Life Better, to inform citizens of the many benefits of utilizing parks, facilities, programs, and services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Rick Rodriguez do hereby announce and proclaim the month of July 2019 as Parks Make Life Better month in the City of Downey, and urge all of its citizens to use and enjoy its parks, open spaces, facilities, and recreation opportunities. Thank you.
Good job. So now I'd like to call up Vanya de Rosas to help me pass out certificates of recognition for our 2019 Innovation and Technology Team.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we're going to be recognizing the 2019 Innovation Technology Team. Each year, the city puts together a team that is comprised of various staff from the different departments throughout the city that come together to look at ideas to make the processes in our city more efficient, more transparent, and ultimately make it better for everyone here. So we wanted to recognize these staff members. So the first one I'm going to bring up is Andrew Dupree through the library. Anthony Hildebrand from the fire department. Jean Pomneville, I hope I say her name right, from the police department. Leif Lovegren from the Parks and Recreation Department. Raul Rodriguez from Finance. Alfonso Hernandez from Community Development. Rebecca Guerrero from I said so many Public Works. And Sandra Vera from Human Resources.
You guys want to join me up front? Good job, guys. Good job. Congratulations. Let's take a 3-minute break. Let's gather up. It's now time for non-agenda public comment. Before we begin the non-agenda public comment period, I'd like to remind members of the audience of the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code. Members of the audience who wish to address the city council during non-agenda public comment are prohibited from engaging in any conduct that disrupts or interferes with the meeting, such as yelling, screaming, or cheering, or whistling. If a speaker engages in the conduct that disrupts or interferes with the meeting, I will ask the city manager to have the speaker removed from the chambers until the end of the non-agenda public comment period. I remind speakers that each person has 5 minutes to speak on non-agenda items, and that your comments should be addressed to me, not to any other council or staff member. Please state your name for the record. Those wishing to speak may now come forward.
Hi, it's us again, the neighborhood of Ganease.
Welcome.
Thank you. Our residential care facility that we don't want in our neighborhood, but would be happy to have it in a commercial area. We just don't want it where we live. I'd like to thank everybody that sent me emails and information. We did get a contact with Chad from, I don't want to ruin his last name, from Assemblyperson Garcia's office.
Christina Garcia's.
Yeah, and he gave us a lot of value information.
Great.
He looked up a lot of things. And we do have a meeting with Assemblyperson Garcia when she comes in town in August, so if anybody wants to come in. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and send you the date. It's not something I don't think Chad wants public, but we're going to be there. Buffy's going to be there. It's her mom's concern, all of our concern. It should be everybody's concern. We have a petition started. We were helped by the city. They helped us get us together. We don't know what's going on right now with the property. We do know that the fence is on, not on his property or whatever his property is, and the construction has been stopped. It's really ugly. It doesn't look good. We don't want it in the neighborhood. It's a fire hazard. Grass is really wet, really dry. No one wets it. So there's a lot of things concerned. But our thing for tonight, besides having a presence and bothering you guys again, is we have the petition started. So we would like that everybody would sign the petition if they could. We have it here with us today. I know the city members told us that they can't sign it. I don't know why. But anybody that lives in California can sign it. It's not just a Downey thing. So we have it going all over California to anybody we know. So we have it here tonight. I can't stay. I have elderly parents. I have to go help take care of them. I'm leaving at 7:30. I know it's way past 7:30, but I'm leaving at 7:30. But Buffy's here with the petitions, and anybody, if you could help us, tell us where to go. We're not going to bother people standing in front of grocery stores and stuff like that. We have a lot of people that are going residential. Okay. We have a lot of people that are in Sacramento, have people in San Francisco. So anything we can do.
So maybe, City Manager Levis, would you like to address that?
What did I do?
Pick up your mic a little bit. So if you could talk to Vanya De Rojas here on the side there, and we'll go ahead and put something together for you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
There you go.
Sure. Again, and I'll email you all the address and the appointment time that we have the meeting.
Okay.
Great. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
My name is Ralph Peck. I live at 8404 Lexington Road. I've been a resident here all my life. 4th of July at my house is different than your houses because I have nothing but a war zone going on. I have bombs like Vietnam going off over my roof. The house that was mentioned that caught fire was my neighbor's. Day after 4th, my whole yard is covered with shrapnel. If I weren't home to put some of these out, I might not have a house either. Talked to some of my neighbors. They are so frustrated. Every year it gets worse. I don't mean to contradict the reports, because I love our police and fire. They're great. But I got to tell you, the bombs that go off on my neighborhood are getting out of control, totally out of control. I don't know what the solution is going to be here. I know a lot of cities who just ban fireworks completely, and maybe that's the solution. I know a lot of people won't like that, but I got to tell you, if this continues, people are going to lose their homes, could lose their lives. If these things go wild, they could go right through your windows into your house. These are your city bombs that's going off. It's just not your little fireworks stand stuff. And they're lighting them off 6, 8, 10 at a time. And the police come and write tickets, and as soon as they go around the corner, it's right back on again. And they get a $2,000 ticket, and they laugh at that. So if they're spending this kind of money on these bombs to shoot off, $2,000 isn't really going to bother them.
Right.
So I don't know what it is, but
Sir, can I get you to lift your mic up there? It fell down.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I've talked to several of my neighbors. Some of them are afraid to bring it up. They're afraid of reprisals of what might come out of it.
Right.
I'm personally not afraid of it.
So sir, if I could interrupt you and tell you, may I call you Ralph?
Sure, sure.
So Ralph, here's the biggest issue. So our last council meeting, we talked, all my colleagues and our city attorney and our city manager, we talked about the idea of exactly what you just said. And we talked about the idea of banning fireworks everywhere. We talked about it putting on a ballot. We talked about doing all these things. But the real effort needs to come from the neighbors. And, we don't know. And you're right. It can be, in certain parts of our city can look like a war zone. And I said that last year. I sat there on my street and I watched the light show, and I heard the sounds, and I've been to war-torn countries, and that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so, however, if no one calls the police, or no one tells the fire, if no one, and I know now, after speaking with the police chief and a number of the officers, we had more officers on the street this year than ever. And so, if we don't know, we don't know. And so it really takes the neighbors to really, I understand their fear, I understand their concern about their safety of reprisal, but at the same time, we have to be informed, and they'll do heavy lifting. They'll go knock on the door and say, "Hey, I heard, it's been reported," and they'll do it from there.
And I don't want to bring this up, but about 6 o'clock on the 4th, I flagged down a patrol car on my street with 2 officers in it. And there was already a big rockin' party going on in my neighborhood. And I says, there's going to be to-dos here tonight. Oh, we're on patrol. We've got double patrol. You just call us. And while I'm speaking to these officers, bombs are going off all around me. I'm thinking, well, you're sitting here in the car. Don't you see what's going on? Well, just call us. So neighbors called, the fire is going on. Next night, we have another barrage go off. I call the police department, the dispatch, put me on hold. And I sat on hold until I got tired of sitting. I just finally hung up. But my neighbor called, and they showed up again, and we started the process. And I'm not knocking anybody. We're frustrated.
Sure.
It's just getting worse. I know several cities have banned them. I have property in the mountains. You don't dare get caught. There's no ticket. You go to jail. So at some point, somebody's going to get hurt, killed. Their house is going to be ashes. I mean, it's really nice to sit and watch this fire go up in the air, but we have nice fireworks here for the city. We don't need to put barrages over people's houses. And I know it's a fundraiser, but other cities are finding other ways of raising their funds. So I'm just frustrated. The lady in the desk told me to come over here and have my say.
Okay.
I'm not one to cry wolf and do these things. The fellow's house is on fire. He's a fireman. He couldn't make it because he was going to be here tonight too. But just something for you folks to think about.
Yes, sir.
Because trust me, every year it gets worse. And at some point, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I don't like to leave my house on the 4th because now had that man not been home and had his wife accidentally not gone in the backyard and seen his roof on fire, he wouldn't have I had a house to come home to. And the guy that's lighting them off, he just laughs about it. So that's what I have to say, and I thank you for your attention.
Yes, sir.
I hope somehow, somewhere down the road, that something comes good of it.
All right, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I brought you some homework along with your colleagues there.
Great. Thank you. Great.
I really wish residents would understand what Gateway City Council government is. If you go on the internet, look up gateway cities, look into the transportation, the air quality, economic development, and best of all, housing. And what's the conclusion? Homelessness to be reduced. That's not what the mayor said, for the record, tonight. Mayor Rodriguez said he wants to see it gone, eliminated, and we took care of the American responsibility of taking care of Americans first. Instead, we allow the city of Los Angeles and its corruption and scandal. Here for the record, this issue, Herb Wesson's FBI probe, criminal defense attorney by the name of Aaron Lewis, Aaronlewis, Covington and Burlington LLP partner. Well, guess where Mr. Aaron Lewis used to work for? A young woman by the name of Eileen Decker from the Los Angeles Police Department in Los Angeles, who was the defense or attorney under Obama. Who Elaine Decker also was the consul for Mayor Eric Garcetti. Garbage Garcetti. Now this Aaron Lewis, you have to pay him $1,000 per hour to protect your rights and to serve your litigation responsibilities and accountability. So why would Herb Wesson of the city of Los Angeles, of the 10th District Councilman, hire an attorney this good, this powerful for $1,000 an hour? Because the city of Los Angeles is so corrupted that is spreading into other gateway cities. Because as I went online, I found out that Mr. Saab's picture showed up, along with Mr. Community Development Aldo Schneider. And in addition to that, our own Miss Mommy Janice Hahn. What's important about that? Well, Miss Janice Hahn was involved before she went to Washington in the issue of Seabreeze out in Long Beach, where they stole not thousands, but millions of dollars with developers at the port. Your tax-paying dollars, good at work, stealing money from the American people and putting other assholes in that place. Not your veterans, not your citizens, not you hardworking citizens of Downey or the state of California. Because as I'll read into the record, who else is asking for $13 billion? Well, isn't it Maxine Waters? Rep Maxine Waters is selling out Los Angeles the way she sold out California. And most of you are happy with that. Then I turn the page and I'll read from the line. Oh, it is very telling when Wesson stripped Jose Luis Huizar, an elected official, of his committee assignments. Well, damn, it's too late. You already created the problems. The eyesores live in our community. The eyesores are in front of your face each time you walk out the door and get in your car and you drive by a homeless person. And what is the definition of a homeless person? Should it be you? Should it be the person next to you? Should it be the person by your home? So now I hope you really understand what Gateway City Council government's all about. Because Aldo has not just his home here in the city of Downey, but he's building a new home out in Sacramento. Where the hell do you get all this money? Where the boot hell do you get all this money? Well, the next meetings on this issues, you can go to 16401 Paramount Boulevard, California, 90723 zip code. Or better, call for their next meetings at 562-663-6850. And I challenge anyone who's smart enough, intelligent enough to seek out why this significant portion that could not or should not be understood is now something to understand. And this is what Mommy Hahn is doing at the County Board of Supervisors as well. She's acting a procedure to have conservatorship against people who suffer from mental health. Another coffer of stealing money to misuse on mental health services, the services that the county should render to build more housing and reduce homelessness. No, goddamn bitch. Fix the problem, Hahn. Fix it. Because we're sick and tired of hearing the irresponsibility, negligence of many of you elected officials who represent us and bring down our communities. Time out.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. God bless you. Anybody else?
Good evening.
Yes, sir. State your name, please.
Corey Carvajal.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. So first off, in regards to fireworks, I notice it every year ever since I was a kid. It's very dangerous. At the same time, I feel there's got to be a supply somewhere. think it's coming from Nevada. So maybe the state of California could do something on its border. Also, too, I wanted to bring up in regards to the city of Downey, their police force, I understand, is trained by Orange County Sheriff's Department. And I've noticed numerous individuals graduating from that academy, and then it's mentioned that they're trained by the Academy of Orange County. I want to bring up that Orange County Sheriff's Department has much scandal involving themselves. I understand a lot of law enforcement agencies do have scandal, but the thing that worries me is Orange County is not LA County. It's a separate outside county. Orange County has no checks and balances. It's all centralized through Santa Ana. There's really not a back and forth checks and balances that LA County has. To remind everybody, there's a snitch scandal, and Scott DeCry, he was the Seal Beach shooter who murdered, I believe, 8 or 9 individuals. He got off the death penalty, and this was because of the prosecution, and the prosecution orchestrated with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. This same Orange County Sheriff's Department decided their union behind the Sheriff's Department decided to spend over $600,000 to get the same Orange County District Attorney's Tony Rakakis reelected. And that didn't happen. Todd Spitzer got elected. So my point I bring up is, why do we still use Orange County Sheriff's Department to train Downey Police Department's new recruits, new police? It's a different culture, unrelated, outside of LA County. You mentioned the gateway cities: Long Beach, Signal Hill, Lakewood, Hawaiian Gardens, Cerritos, Artesia, Norwalk, La Mirada, Bellflower, Santa Fe Springs, Paramount, Downey, Pico Rivera, Montebello, Commerce, Huntington Park, Compton, Linwood, Southgate, Bell, Maywood, Bell Gardens. Downey's the only city that still uses Orange County Sheriff's Department to train their police recruits. So my question would just be: is this something that that is going to go on, continuously? Is this something that could be up for debate or up for question? And what's the vision? What's the foreseeable future? Involving Orange County, how it relates to Downey. I think Downey can be a little better fit than how that currently is set up. And are there other avenues? Are there other academies that would be able to train any future recruits? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yes, sir.
Didn't know there was so much concern of dangerous fireworks in our city. So off the top of my head, I thought for next year, shortly before July 4th, Downey could institute a program warning people with illegal fireworks that all citations and or arrests made for illegal fireworks, the fireworks will be looked over after they are seized. Ones that are deemed to be in excessive explosive amounts will be referred to the district attorney for prosecution for possession of an explosive device, a felony in the state of California. That takes care of the worry about the people laughing over the fine amount. Okay, into other agenda here. Okay, so we still have an ordinance in Downey regarding drinking in public. Okay, which at the end of the ordinance, it should state the amount of the fine for drinking in public. Okay, I contacted Downey Police Department June 20th, approximately 3:47, asked them to issue a citation to a person drinking in public in the city of Downey and blocking a sidewalk. the dispatcher tells me they will send an officer out there to speak to him. And I said, to speak to him, they're just going to continue this. And then they get a little louder me. We're going to send somebody out there to speak to him, okay? I thought we had ordinances that are put on the books in order to be enforced. You know, I don't think speaking to the person will do any good, okay, in my opinion. Our ordinances should be enforced. They're not there for conversation pieces. Okay, getting into another item, the homeless crisis in Downey, which is continually getting worse and worse and worse. I was wondering, like, we have a problem by Regent View and the railroad tracks. The homeless, or the population in there, is growing rapidly. Okay, some of these people are salvageable. Some of them are completely nuts. They are making our city a danger. They're leaving drug paraphernalia everywhere, trash everywhere. They should be also cited for drinking in public. They should be cited for littering. They should be citing for obstructing a trainway. Some of them are putting objects on the train that could derail it, causing what? Derailed train with propane cars, et cetera, et cetera. We could have a lot of deaths because we're ignoring these homeless shelters along the railroad tracks. Something to think about, don't you think? Okay, getting into another item. Now we go back into ancient history here in the city of Downey. The city of Downey put on a utility tax 20-some years ago when Mayor Boggs was the mayor here. Reason being that Downey police felt they were being paid less than Bell Gardens police. Well, they didn't feel that way. It was a fact. Okay, we bring up the fact, I bring up at that meeting, they have a card club in Bell Gardens. At the time, recent years, the drop on the table brings about $11 million to the city of Bell Gardens. So that could be used here in Downey. If we're going to allow the city to turn into Skid Row, and that's part of how Skid Row got started. They didn't enforce drinking in public. They started having conversations with the people. So if we're going to allow some of this nonsense here in the city, a card club would be a great idea. Every city of the size of Downey could use an extra $11 million, and it would create a couple hundred jobs while it's built, 2,400 plus jobs after it is finished, and bring in a lot of sales tax money and revenue to the city. After I spoke about that at the meeting, many of the Downey police that were here in plain clothes followed me out the door and said it was a fantastic idea. Don't buy into the nonsense that the Downey police officers are against it. They were all for it. They're intelligent enough to know that that would bring a lot of revenue to the city. Should we bring a card club here and bring in that extra $10, $11 million or so, we could possibly repeal that tax that's on everybody's electric bill. That's a forced tax. The card club would be a voluntary tax. You're only paying that if you show up there and go to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, consent calendar. Are there any council member that would like to remove or abstain from any items on the consent calendar?
Yeah, number 5, please.
Anybody else? Okay, public comment. Are there any comments from the public on the consent calendar items only?
Item 5. A significant portion that could be understood. How far is Aaron Lewis, the nigger, going? Yeah, this is what we're going to do to the niggers. A dirty nigger, Covington and Burling LLP partner. Send the Jews back to Israel for 1,000 per hour. Let's give them back to the dark garden and save America to approve a professional service. Let's go back to constitutional betterment. Downey and city parks for security guards? No, bury the nigger security guards. Community development is important. violations of the First and Fifth and 14th Amendment under Section 2 of California Constitution is my regard for enforcement. Let's protect constitutional rights, not the unconstitutional rules as brought out on item 5, as I read it to the record. Let us approve professional service agreements with the American Guard Service Incorporation in the amount not to exceed $189,000 to provide security guard service in downtown Downey and the city parks and facilities as determined by the Parks and Recreation Nigger Department, and authorize the city nigger manager to execute any and all amendments of community development. So we got 3 bids: immediate, international, and American, all priced at a dollar amount of $22 to $32 an hour to protect citizens of Downey from what? Downey's a quiet community. We got the best law enforcement, Dean R. We got the best fire department, as you heard in public comment before me, on non-agenda items, that the homeless population should be banned from the city of Downey, should be banned from the railroads, should be banned from throwing their trash into our streets. When yet we praise Measure S, we praise HH, we praise all these fucking measures that don't do a goddamn thing for our constituents. And yet the stakeholders pick up the tab and have to pay the bill for $189,000 for security in our downtown Downey. We got a police department less than 3 blocks, and we're gonna hire outside security? We don't need that. I'm here in opposition for that. What you're saying is Downey's getting bad. What you're saying is Downey's becoming a worse small little city like that of the city of Bell, the city of Vernon, where the vermints like the city of Los Angeles was raided by the FBI. So now you understand why I'm upset. Now you understand what triggers me to say these things about homeless people. They're persons with mental health issues. They're persons with disabilities. They're persons who have been forgotten by society because of substance abuse, and we do not one goddamn thing with all that funding that you promised to grant them housing. Gateway cities, where are you at? 80% turnaround, you put these people who are homeless off the street? Show me where in community development. Gateway cities. Someone asked Janice Hahn to come here today and prove me wrong and put her big fat mouth where it counts. Because I'm here to debate with the witch. Janice Hahn, where are you? What about you, Maxine Waters, demanding $13 billion to be given back to Democrats in California who stole all this money and made these conditions worse of homelessness? Up and down the state, we have homelessness. Throughout the United States, we have homelessness. And I'm looking forward for the next goddamn earthquake to shake all of you to hell with me. To feel the fear of God the way you feared it when you were saying, oh my God, is this an earthquake? Well, God damn it, it's an earthquake. And they're coming. The same way you offend the American people when you don't protect Americans first. Homegrown first, Mr. Saab. Gateway cities come last.
Irma, we're talking about item 5.
And on item 5, the hell with the $189,000. Fuck your security, and God bless America, and thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. God bless you. Next speaker, please. Please state your name for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. My name is Emory Saipos.
Welcome.
I have a question regarding the security in downtown. If I recall it properly, before Mr. Mayor, you were elected as a council member, you provided security in downtown.
Yes, sir.
And it was patrolled, and we were very happy with the situation of that time. And I would like to find out where that $189,000 will be allocated from. My understanding is last week it was a meeting regarding the downtown subcommittee. I wasn't invited again on that meeting, and I just want to find out. We are duplicating those payments. Will come out from my property tax, what I'm paying. I already paid 2 payments, and I don't see anything happening in downtown at this time. I would like to have some more information on that, and I heard that during the meeting last week, it was an emergency, and maybe the secretary wasn't able to contact me, but in the future I would like to get that information.
Yes, sir.
And we do need security, but I want to find out why it was interrupted, the one what we had before. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, no further speakers. Is there a motion and second to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
So moved.
You want to vote?
Are we voting on?
I second it.
Consent calendar.
balance.
The balance.
No. Okay, those you, I think Alex, you pulled 5, you want to?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. This is regarding item number 5. The bid, we'll call it the bid, right? I don't know if they were coming up with the name here. At what point are we going to transfer over security over to them, the cost of security? Do you know if that's something that they've entertained? I know they're just getting started, but the idea behind that, from my understanding, is that they were going to assume some of those services that are focused in the downtown. Would you know that, Mr. Schindler?
Yes, sir, council member. Actually, the goal has always been to fund our services at the base level. The funding that's for the services that are proposed tonight are at that base level. At this time, the Downtown Downey Improvement Association property owners are satisfied with that level of service. They have chatted about different types of security in terms of level of presence, so we'll continue to work with them on that.
And then, just to be clear, the company that staff is recommending is the what are they called? American AGA, AGS, is that right?
American Guard Services,
Right.
Inc.
That's not the company that was there most recently, right?
No, it's not. It's a new company.
Okay. And can you explain just a little bit why staff's recommending this company rather than the other one that's a little bit cheaper?
Sure, of course. The contracts are multi-year contracts, and we monitor those contracts very carefully. We also listen to the input that we get from the local business owners. We've chatted with Emery quite a bit, and he's provided some good feedback. And so to keep the bids fresh, we conducted another solicitation for these services, and we had 9 firms that submitted proposals. The firm that we're going with tonight provided and displayed enhanced technology, training, and a response level at the municipalities and other government entities that they serve. They also presented themselves in a much more professional fashion and had a much more open view of providing security services in our downtown than the current firm. So they were head and shoulders above the current firm, and once again, we thought it was a good point in time to bring on a fresh perspective to security services in our downtown.
So this on the map, there's the map on the item. So it only goes up to on Downey Avenue, unless I'm just reading this wrong here. It's Downey Avenue, but it doesn't go east of Downey Avenue, like where the view is and the alley back, the fitness place is, that whole area right there.
No, that map also is flexible, and as we've heard from Emery in the past, and as the services have existed today and will exist in the future, the services once again will be primarily for the parking structure, but there will be rotations and shifts that go to the east. They'll head down 3rd Street They'll go in the alley behind, from 3rd Street, heading southbound to 2nd Street, behind the Avenue Theater and those businesses there. It will then veer to the alley that goes behind Emery's business and between the View. We'll also provide a presence on Downey Avenue, and then go up Firestone Boulevard and loop back around to the parking lot.
Okay, because on this map, it doesn't look like it goes.
Yeah, that map isn't correct, and once again, the security company is flexible. And one of the main reasons that we chose this firm is due to their flexibility, their willingness to work with staff on being pliable in terms of where any future needs might be required.
Although, for residents, and again, for the record, and those residents that may be viewing us on streaming live, could you give us a little bit of background in terms of if the residents are asking, whether 189,000 is a good use of our city funds, and wondering why we need to contract the services of a security firm versus using our Downey Police Department officers who are just a couple of blocks away. Again, I think it's important for the residents to understand that from us here in the scenes. I think we do, but it is important to have that out on the record so our residents understand what is the process and what is the reasoning behind this.
Sure, not a problem. I'll speak to the fiscal component and then maybe flirt with the security versus the PD services and allow the police department to chime in there. In terms of the cost, it's only $100,000 for the downtown services. And that rate has been in place for 6 years. And that rate hasn't increased. So even though the hourly rates have increased, the minimum wages have increased, we've managed to keep those costs stable at $100,000 and retain the amount of service that we've needed. And so the extra $89,000 is only if needed by our Parks and Rec department, because this security firm doesn't just provide security for our downtown, it provides security services for the Parks and Rec department and the special events that they have. And our director of Parks and Rec can elaborate on that. We had a representative from the Parks and Rec department on our review committee, as we did a sergeant from the police department, so that we can get a well-rounded view of the services that were required by the city and the quality of submissions that we had. In terms of security, plus PD presence and or police presence in our downtown, we believe that security is a subtle enhancement in terms of what's happening down there. We have a lot of activity growing in our downtown, and the parking structure itself, it's an encapsulated building, and so having that present there more frequently than not is an assistance.
And do you think, again, when residents say, if this is going to be unarmed security, and we are experiencing this uptick of activity, perhaps it could be a deterrent, but really, how does that truly differentiate and stop crime when they're unarmed and they're just security officers as opposed to police officers?
I'm going to punt.
And again, I'm playing devil's advocate on behalf of our residents.
Actually, if I may, Chief, really quick, I want to give a little bit of a backdrop in terms of how we even got to this place in terms of the security. As the downtown was starting to grow and things are starting to develop, what we had is a lot of complaints about breaking and entering into vehicles in the parking structure. Not just one or two, but I mean nightly, frequent break-ins. Then you had the advent of portals coming in, and then they're requiring their employees to park there so that patrons would have a place to park at their facility. So a number of those things. So as the downtown grew, people were using the parking structure, which is what it was intended for, always, right? But the problem is people were breaking and entering, and the more that was happening, you saw declining use of the structure, which is what was not a good thing for your downtown, and it's not good for the downtown in terms of perception, and that people feel safe. And one of the things that we did is we undertook a study, and we had an expert come in that did a parking expert and looked at our facility and also looked at it and said, first of all, it's got to be a safe and secure place for people to go to for them to park there. So one of the first things that we did was one of the recommendations that we have security at the facility. And it was only at the parking structure that we had the security there. It only morphed into the outside so sort of the outlier streets of the parking structure over time as the downtown became more active in terms of pedestrians. So that's sort of the backdrop in terms of what happened. And what we saw was a dramatic decrease. I don't know that we've had any break-ins there at all, really, since the security has come in. And now, in terms of a cost benefit, one of the things that we looked at is it's a lot more expensive for the city to house a police officer at a parking structure on at a given time when, quite frankly, there's a lot of more important things they need to be doing. And just from a pure hourly wage perspective, that's how the two ended up happening. And so what you have today is essentially a contract in terms of the pricing that has been there for the same time. Then in addition to that, you have Parks and Rec. Well, we've had events in the downtown. We've had events that we, again, employing this cost benefit strategy in terms of having some security out there. And they've been very, very effective in that. So I just wanted to give a backdrop. Chief, I don't know if there's anything that you would add to that.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I would just like to add that to Councilmember Fermetta's question with regard to the difference or the enforcement of law by a security guard versus a law enforcement officer. What we found is that they're great partners with us. As City Manager Levis mentioned, they're deployed in certain areas, and that's their sole responsibility is to patrol through the parking lots. If they see or witness any criminal activity, they've been fantastic witnesses for us. And unfortunately, a lot of times we have civilian witnesses are much more reluctant to get involved, to act as witnesses, which we require oftentimes based on the circumstances that we're dealing with, to have people that are willing to go to court to testify to what they saw, what they witnessed, or what they were assisting with. So they not only provide a great deterrent as far as the physical presence with the uniform, but they're also great partners to our law enforcement personnel if and when we respond to calls for service in the area, utilizing them and what they've seen as to act as witnesses or provide additional information for suspects fleeing the area or whatever.
Thank you, Chief.
So I have a couple of questions. So when we approved the Downtown Downey Improvement Association, what was the purpose of that?
One of the things that we're looking at is we took a look at various successful downtowns, and one of them, for example, was in San Diego. There's been another couple, Burbank and like Glendale. And so what was like, how can we make our downtown a destination place that would grow and that people would want to come to and feel safe? And so one of the things that was in common with all of those is that they had a district, a business improvement district, that would allow them to do things over and above what the basic services of a particular city were doing, right? So, for example, if they wanted to hold festivals, or they wanted to do additional patrol, or they wanted to do additional banners or marketing of their downtown, they can do that with that particular money, and it wouldn't be coming out of the city's coffers per se. And so the idea was that if this particular area grows and it requires more resources, then they should be able to pay for those additional benefits that are derived from the activity that goes on in those areas.
So what have they paid for since the inception of it? Because it's been about a year now.
Yeah,
almost a year.
Yeah.
And so what have they paid for?
So I'll defer that to Aldo. So part of this is that it takes almost that amount of time for you to start generating the funds from the taxing entity back into the city before you even get anything. So once the approval was done, it was close to a year. But Aldo, go ahead and.
Yes, it's exactly what the city manager mentioned. So you've got incremental payments that come twice a year from the county. More importantly, is you've got a lot of busy property owners that are trying to juggle their properties and their businesses, and now their participation with the Downtown Association. So currently they're working on a marketing campaign for the downtown that they'll pay on their own. They're working on branding. They're working on things such as banners and other marketing activities for the downtown. They're also signed a street cleaning contract that they'll pay for on their own. They're also looking at other events for the downtown to supplement and go above and beyond what the city's done. And so with those items and with them meeting on a monthly basis and attempting to juggle all of that that's the direction that they're moving in.
When's the next meeting?
They meet monthly. They meet, I believe it's on the fourth Thursday of the month. They also have their subcommittee meetings where they look at specific items. What I can do is I can provide that information to the council, and we can also provide a link on our city's website so folks can be aware of their meeting schedule.
Do they send in
So-
those? Sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, so with the program, with the other cities that you listed off, how many of those organizations are paying for their own security?
You know, once again, the city's established baseline services. So if they're providing security services the day before the association was enacted, the day after, they continue to do that. And that may vary on a city-to-city basis, but the baseline services are what cities continue to provide in an industry standard.
To me, though, this seems like something that we're providing just for the downtown area, which I'm not against the concept of having the additional security. I think the cost, though, is something that at least should be more split with the Improvement Association, because I think the purpose of that and the benefit of that is strictly for them. You know, it's good to have security, but I don't think the city should bear the full cost of that $100,000. So I did have one other question related to the Parks and Rec side. I wanted to make sure that, you know.
I actually had a question as well.
No, go ahead, and then I'll come back to the Parks and Rec side.
Okay. So I know right now our PD patrols the area, the downtown area, on Fridays and I believe Saturdays. Are we still going to be continuing having PD patrol that area?
You mean on foot?
On foot?
The answer is yes, but I don't want to speak for the chief.
They patrol all the time, it's just, right?
Yes, we have officers that are assigned specifically to the downtown area, most specifically the bar and restaurant area on Downey Avenue, as well as the south side of Firestone, back behind the other restaurants there in the Gateway Center. So they do a foot patrol in those areas on the weekend evenings. And that will continue regardless of the security plan.
Okay. And then the security, are we going to, in the downtown area, is it going to be every day from morning till evening? Or are we looking at more at only during the evening hours?
Yeah, well, the schedule today, and once again, that schedule might flex a little bit based on the need and assessment of the new company, is Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then on Saturday and Sunday, there's an additional guard at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and additional guard also on Friday through Sunday from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. And so those, through the assessments of the current security guard services, are the biggest impactful times. But the new security guard company will make their assessment and provide us feedback on when those impact times occur.
Thank you.
I did have a question. Regarding what Councilman Ashton said, I don't disagree with what you said, but I think it may be too early, though, for the bid to be able to pay for that. I mean, they're just getting the money in, and they're still, even though they've formed, they're still, you know, they just picked the board not too long ago. So I don't disagree. I think eventually that's probably something
and that's kind of where I'm working towards with that, because I would
we're
like
just-
to see that in the future.
Sure, I think we all would, but I think it's a little early. I mean, am I wrong here? Is that what you're saying?
But if nobody says it, then it doesn't get done. So that's I want to bring it up to make sure that's a goal of this.
In all transparency, I want to make sure I understand what we're talking about, because I think we've had discussions about this when we were establishing the bid. The whole idea behind establishing a bid is that you had a baseline services that you have now. If you're a person or a property owner in that area, and there's no incentive for you to vote for a bid if you know that you're just going to end up paying for the current services that you have now. So it wouldn't work. I mean, you just wouldn't get a bid. And so there's no rationale for me as a property owner to vote for something that I know is just going to be, substituted out with my own money. So the whole idea behind the bid is that you would have a threshold amount of services, and that any incremental increases in those services would then be borne, because we knew that the downtown would continue to grow and they would continue to be have a demand of services. So we wanted the bid to be able to capture that incremental growth moving forward. That was the whole idea behind the bid because otherwise you wouldn't get off the ground.
Speaking of the bid, do all the properties that pay into it get notice of their meetings? Do you know? You may not know.
No, the notice, that they have a newsletter that goes out, and the notices go to the board members and the subcommittee members. Those are the individuals that participate. The property owners came together and voted on their board members, and then the board members themselves assign themselves to subcommittee members, and they then have taken on the task to conduct the board's business.
So
The answer is no, they don't, because they voted on their board to conduct their business, and that's been their decision.
That's kind of, all right. That's their business, I guess, but.
So then it's up to
that doesn't
them
make
to
sense.
notify
So
their
it's
own
up to them to
board.
notify whether they
Okay.
want to notify the business owners or not?
That's a decision that they've made independently.
Because
Doesn't
that
seem
could
like
be.
a very good decision.
Yeah, that could be.
I would
a
think they
little-
would have a newsletter and they have a scheduled amount of dates the whole year. If not, your property owner and you're going to be chasing them down to see when the meetings are?
Sure, we can provide them that information and those suggestions.
That's odd. I was part of a bid in Huntington Park, and it wasn't like that. There was a regular newsletter, and they said, dude, we're gonna have a meeting on this date, and that's how that.
Yeah, because we want to ensure that everybody is informed, as, in the case of, Mr. Sipos provided earlier, in his case, he was completely unaware of meetings taking place. So I think, that would be a.
But I think we also remember that this is a business improvement district. It's not our business. We hold a seat at the table and that's it.
Right. Well, we have a seat though.
That's
We have
it.
a seat. Yeah, you're right.
And I think for that matter, that's why Aldo can take that back to these guys. Say, look,
Yeah.
it's our council recommendation.
So just to be clear on this contract, yeah, I know this isn't the first time I've voted on this contract, but I just, so the public knows. We can obviously change, we can expand the area that it covers. We can make, all the changes we need to, just to be clear, right, to be on the record.
Yes, within reason.
So then, my other question that I had was on the other $89,000 part of it for the Parks and Rec thing. And we have a park ranger program, correct?
Yes, sir.
So why can't we use that for those services since we're already paying those people? Because they're kind of doing the same thing we're going to have the security do.
For the downtown?
No, it's $100,000 for the downtown,
for the parking.
and then there's another $89,000 that was previously mentioned that was for the parks. So like when Parks and Rec needs people for security type thing, why don't we have the park rangers do that? Because we have that program already. I don't see the need of spending $89,000 to duplicate something we already have.
I don't know if it's a duplicate.
I can,
don't see it as
first of all, I think there's only, 4 park rangers? There's only 4 park rangers, so when you have an event, you need multiple security there, and the park rangers are enforcing the park. But anyway, I won't jump the chief's answer, but.
Councilman Ashton, I think part of the concern with the use of the park rangers is those are part-time employees. They're only allowed to work a specific number of hours. We have them assigned those hours to patrol the parks at times that were requested and times were determined to be in most need. So if we were going to use them in other special events scheduling, we would have to pull them from the recommended hours that they've already been scheduled to patrol the parks, and we wouldn't have anybody to conduct that business. So then it would be a matter of if we think one event is more important than the other, is the way that it's currently deployed. We have them there, and I think this is in addition to the park ranger program. These are for special event incidents where it may be outside of the normal hours that we use them. It's not something that we couldn't revisit, but at this point in time, we deploy them there just for their part-time hours.
So then why have we looked into the cost of, how much it would cost to either hire another part-timer or increase the hours of the part-time person to cover an event like this versus paying for the security? And where would we get the most bang for our buck? Because, I'm not seeing that in the report. I'm just saying, here's this for this, but I don't know if we've looked at all these other avenues of ways to do the same thing.
Most, Councilmember Ashton, typically the reason that people go to an outside security firm is because the costs are cheaper. And when you look at it compared to what you would pay a park ranger staff and what a security person from a private entity would charge, the costs are significant. So that's really, if it was cost benefit for us to do that, then we would do it.
have we looked into it? Because
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that in the report. So that's the part that bothers
Yeah,
me, because
there-
I think for something like that, we should have that in the report so we can make the best decision.
Again, one of the main issues that we look at in this particular issue is that the number of park rangers. Pamela, how many security guards do we need for a particular event?
The major use of our security guards, we only use a few at our special events, but we have them more regularly at the golf course. They're there Monday through Friday, and as well as on the weekends, and then we also have them at the transit depot. So it's more regular use than you might think. So we're not using as many hours at our special events as we do at some other things. We also use them for our rentals at the Barbara J. Riley Community and Senior Center when they're larger rentals, and we use them at the theater. So we're using them sporadically, and so when you're talking about, we have the regular hours with the 2 facilities, and then for the others, which are the one-offs, it's really difficult when you're talking about, we have regular schedules for the park rangers, and they're in our parks. For the other places that we're talking about for security guards, our park rangers aren't typically there. They're usually not at the golf course, they're not usually at the theater, they're not usually at the transit depot. So this is additional sites, and it's helpful to have the same person there. We usually have the same, at least 1 or 2 that are at our regular sites at the transit depot or at the golf course. And then for the others, it's we have usually larger amounts of people that are there, the security guards. So we might have 10 security guards at a theater event, depending on what it is, or we might have 2. So it really typically it's very varied.
And you know, for us, we're always looking to keep our labor costs as low as we possibly can in terms of adding additional staff. And so that's our
Which is why I'm
primary-
asking these
Right,
questions,
sure.
because I think they're questions that are valid, and the research needs to be done, not just for me personally, but for the residents of Downey, to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we're spending the city's money wisely.
And plus, they're trained differently, right? The park ranger guys, right? Is that right, Chief? I mean, anybody can be trained to do anything, right? But I mean, they're trained differently.
Park rangers require specific training because they do perform acts that a security guard wouldn't be able to perform, sighting of vehicles, towing of vehicles, things of that nature, that the security guard firm wouldn't be able to handle.
So they're more trained than the security.
For the specific areas we're dealing with at the parks.
Trained differently,
Yeah, so for example, I know a couple of meetings ago, Councilmember Fermetta was discussing the issue with the dogs off the leash in the parks. Park rangers are able to handle the situations like that where a security guard wouldn't. But in these other events, I don't think we're talking about actual enforcement as far as taking action against laws, but providing services to people to be there in the event that services are needed, as opposed to specific enforcement action.
And I think with this, with our parks being renovated, and again, the growth of our city, we will only see more use of our parks. And so I think it is wise to go with a security firm like this. And I move to approve item number 5.
We have to do public comment.
Oh, that's right.
So,
I think we have to do public comment.
Public.
we don't need public comment.
We don't, okay.
So we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote on item 5 only.
Matter of fact.
Item 5.
Yes.
We're voting? Please vote.
The motion was approved with Councilmember Ashton voting no.
Okay, so administrative reports. So we have 2 administrative reports tonight. 2019 Innovation and Technology Team Proposal. So City Manager Levis, who's giving these report for item number 9?
Mr. Mayor, I'm actually proud to introduce some of our innovation team members. Again, this is a team that we've put together over the last several months. We've done this annually, I think 4 or 5 years. And one of the things that is always good is that we really get some great ideas coming out of this team. But more importantly, it allows for different departments to come together, to work together, and to understand the inner workings of the city, where they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that siloed in a particular department. So this is something that they do. They come together. They still have their duties that they do, and they take on additional work in order to get some recommendations and to increase efficiency in the organization. So I'm proud to say that this team has done an outstanding job as well. So coming up first will be Jean Pominville, forensic specialist from the PD department.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Jean Pominville. I'm a forensic specialist with the police department, and thank you for allowing me to present this proposal for updating the backup radio system for the police department to increase efficiency in communication between the police department and other entities within the city in the event of an emergency or disaster. This update will also be cost efficient by eliminating the dependency on outdated and expensive equipment. On May 1st of this year, the Downey Police Department joined the Interagency Communications Interoperability Regional Radio Network, or ICI.
Yeah, big name.
It's a ultra high frequency trunked radio system, which means when somebody wants to transmit a message, instead of having to wait for an open frequency, it automatically assigns an open channel so that the transmissions are faster. It also relies on repeaters to transmit radio signals to expand the coverage of the devices. With signals going further, devices can transmit information across greater distances. It is a shared system with components purchased and constructed by individual cities linked together through a microwave network in order to provide regional coverage. The concept of ICI was born out of the need for its current member agencies to replace their aging infrastructure. Since moving to the ICI radio system, radio traffic has definitely improved in and around the city, but as a result of the upgrade, other city departments within the city are not able to listen to our radio traffic or program the police department's radio frequency into their radios. So communication between the different departments is no longer efficient. The police department's legacy radio program is currently serving as the backup radio system in the event the ICI radio network goes down. The current legacy system is not a reliable option as the infrastructure is antiquated, operates on a limited, very high frequency channel, and is not cost effective. Staff has extensively researched various options for a backup radio system that would increase interoperability with the city departments and other entities, such as Downey Unified School District, while reducing costs. As such, the police department has determined that a proposal from Comline Incorporated for an emergency disaster repeater system would best fit our needs. This system provides a backup radio system for the police department, in addition to a citywide mutual aid channel that is easily programmed into existing radios. And as you can see with your attachments, the fiscal impact from Comline's estimate is $37,300 and includes all radio infrastructure, labor, and FCC licensing. This radio system does not require an annual fee because it utilizes existing fiber optic and microwave equipment that we have already. In doing so, the city would be able to eliminate the antiquated phone lines that are being used at this time with the legacy system, and would actually result in an annual savings of approximately $35,000 a year. This concludes my presentation. And I have Lieutenant Lochner with my department to assist me in answering questions.
I do have a question. What other cities are currently using this software? Excuse me, this radio system?
Comline.
If you know.
Are you speaking of the ICI network or the new?
Any other cities? What other cities?
Any
are
other
doing
cities? Because you mentioned the
network?
importance.
this? Talking about the Comline.
The
It's
one,
called Comline.
the one she's talking about, or
Yes.
the one we already joined up with?
The one that we are replacing.
Okay.
We're voting to replace. Because you talk about the importance, of course, in a disaster, the importance of interoperability.
Correct. So the cities that are using the network, as far as I know, Beverly Hills, Burbank, Culver City, Glendale, Montebello, Pasadena, Pomona, Santa Monica. There may be some other agencies that have been added. This is what I got from their website.
And LA County Sheriffs, are they on that system as well?
The ICI network pretty much covers all of the Los Angeles area.
So this is a far cry from 9/11 days. 9/11 days when public safety couldn't communicate at all. And days, it was so antiquated. So good job. Thank you. You guys, any other questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, next up.
Next up, we have Leif Overgren, Management Analyst, will come up and make his presentation.
Give it a second here to.
Sure. If you might want to pick up, pointing the mic at your.
The mic's at.
Mic in front of you. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, probably the whole arm. Have to lift the whole arm.
I think the next innovation team's going to come.
That's right.
Just
Talk loud.
Good evening, Mayor Rodriguez and members of the City Council. My name is Leif Lovgren, Management Analyst with the Parks and Recreation Department. I'm here to present a recommendation for the creation of a quick response code and the installation of a maintenance city parks button option to the city's redesigned mobile service request system. This idea came about through a collaborative effort with Alfonso Hernandez of the Community Development Department and the rest of this year's Innovation and Technology team, and falls in line with the City Council's priorities of efficiency and enhanced customer service. Don't know if we can get the... There we go. Sorry, hypersensitive. Staff discussed the potential to create a quick response or QR code that could be affixed to city park amenities such as picnic shelters and bathrooms, which would direct residents to the city's service request application where they can report basic maintenance needs. The team found this initiative will help to improve response times to basic maintenance concerns rather than relying on regularly scheduled staff rounds to discover such issues. This is especially true on weekends or at unstaffed park sites where several events may occur between regularly scheduled maintenance. It will help to alleviate the demands of senior and/or specialized staff by allowing these service requests to be responded to by staff at all levels. Here's an example of a QR code that is used in affixed to a bathroom stall at I believe it was a movie theater. You can see, essentially, you just scan it with your phone. And the graphic on the screen here illustrates how the process will function. When a park patron sees that a bathroom or picnic shelter needs maintenance, they can scan the affixed QR code tag, which will direct them to the city's service request application. After completing a brief form describing the issue, they can tag their location and attach a photo of the maintenance need. Once submitted, the request will be sent to the appropriate city staff members to ensure that the issue is addressed as soon as possible. The status of the request is then updated by the responding staff member, which will, in turn, notify other staff as to the resolution or the need for additional service.
How does it get from second to third? Is it automated, or does somebody have to receive it and then it gets dispersed to the third?
So when you go from the QR code, you will
So after the QR code, with the red circle, right? Somebody receives that data, right?
Yes.
And then that person disperses it to maintenance, public, whatever,
Yes.
PD
So
or
this
whatever
is something that is in the process of being developed and in the process of being discussed, just the most efficient way to disperse the information.
Okay.
The idea is that, and this is how the efficiency is gained, is that in the current request system, it's delivered to administrative staff who are then disseminated to staff to take care of the need. In this instance, these would be very basic maintenance functions, and that's why we were limiting it to bathrooms and picnic shelters. Things like a dirty picnic shelter that might affect a park goer, things that can be attended to by staff at all levels. So as I said, it's not a specialized function. You don't have to have specialized training or use specialized equipment. And so this can be dispersed bypassing administrative staff members. It can be dispersed to frontline staff so they can address it.
That's going to be key.
Yeah, that's the key, yeah.
So we will add a new icon to the city app that's currently being developed and is going to be released in the near future. So as I mentioned, some of the benefits of this initiative and costs associated with this service are a one-time fee of $3,000 for the development of the application component, $350 for the QR code tags themselves and any media promotion items, and then a monthly subscription cost of $19 for the QR code maintenance and reporting. By utilizing this application, which is anticipated, as I said, to be launched at the same time as the revamped citywide application, the city can improve efficiency and customer service, as staff will be able to address basic maintenance issues in a more expeditious manner. As such, we recommend authorizing the city manager to approve the purchase and installation of a quick response code online service request system for city parks. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Any council member have questions
I have
or
a couple
comments?
questions. Oh.
Okay, jump right
So,
in there.
on the signage, would it just be the QR code, or will there be does this bathroom or does this location need?
So it wouldn't be just a QR code without any explanation. There would be explanation to let the park patrons know that they would scan that QR code and what that would do.
I think there's a picture in the report that has that, right?
Right here.
I think there was, yeah.
All I seen was a QR code.
No, if you scroll down.
No, but there was a picture that he showed.
Oh, that he showed, okay, the one that he showed. Yeah, you know what, that one that they had on the thing, it was just the code.
It was just
In the report,
code.
though, it says,
Yeah,
does this bathroom need clean?
Yeah.
And then.
That one said flush.
And then those signs will be in multiple languages as well?
Oh, jeez.
At least English and Spanish, I would assume.
We can put that in English and Spanish too.
All right. So I have I guess my question is, look, do we have the QR thing on the agenda? Yolanda, do you know how many people actually download it? Do we have a number? Probably don't have a number. I can't imagine that many people download it. And so this is, I think, is only as good as we promote it. Is only as good. Absolutely. Is there any other way? I mean, I myself rarely do the QR thing. We all get lazy, right? Texting is probably the easiest way. Is there an alternate that you can maybe text? If you put if there's a problem in the bathroom, text this number, and rather than actually and that's my first question. The second one, because I don't want to forget. The second one is, is the plan to have the communication received to a supervisor at the park to take care of it, or is it going to be like a bureaucratic thing where it goes to the department head and then it's not by the time? Because the problem is we're going to create this expectation of the public that we're going to act on something right away, and things happen and we don't always act right away. Is that a cause of concern, you think, or?
Sure. Well, I'll speak to your first question about texting.
Especially weekends, yeah.
And holidays.
The texting option very well could be an option. We haven't costed that out. We did not look at that option, but that's something I can investigate and report back to council on.
I mean, the benefit I see the QR is you could do the locator thing.
Right.
Whereas the texting, I don't think that's a feature, right? Although I guess you can have
Well, I would
more
think,
instructions.
I would think that we're very successful with the graffiti reporting graffiti on that piece.
That's not a QR thing.
I know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that somewhere in between, there's a hybrid between however you report graffiti or shopping carts or whatever on the app now, and your proposal, somewhere in between there's a happy medium in there.
Well, I think that if I recall, I think on that Downey app, you can report things such as that now, currently. The idea was that, at least the way I understood it, is that this would be just another layer, and believe it or not, I actually use a QR code quite a bit. That it's quick, it's easy, but you can also do the old-fashioned way, which is you go into the app, open it up, and do it that way as well. And then the third way, as you suggested, we can look into is maybe there's a text way to do it. But to answer your question in terms of many of these ideas were presented to me before they came to you as well.
I like the idea. I don't want you to think I don't like it. I'm just asking.
No. I agree. I'm
concerned. Yeah.
And
I like it for the price. It's a no-brainer.
No, I thought it was a fantastic idea, and so I think the idea that what trying to achieve is to do exactly what you said is have these requests go to frontline staff that are already at the park, already there, boots on the ground, as I say, so that they can take care of those minor things like, the bathroom's dirty or something's happened or it needs to be cleaned up, so that it doesn't have to be cycled all over the place. I mean, that's really the goal, is to get it as quick as a response as we possibly can get without having to go through a lengthy process.
I think that's exactly what the graffiti application does, because it goes to Lisa. She sees it right away, right? So I think if this, to your point, if this information, once you scan that barcode and the application piece comes up, it's already there. It's almost pre-populated, the data part of it, where the location, so you have the basic, maybe just your input you want to put in there, and then from that point, it goes to a frontline supervisor, somebody on-call duty manager for the weekend or after hours. So it is cycled through the real, people who do the job.
Do you QR?
It's actually really,
QR?
it's
Yeah.
really,
You use your QR?
Yeah, oh yeah.
it's
Especially Home
really
Depot.
easy. All you have to do is use your camera feature, take a picture, and
Or
you're
you know what, or
automatic.
download a scanner on your phone.
You don't even
The
need the
iPhone
scanner.
has you can just take a picture. Anyway, we really like it.
Moving on.
I think what this shows is we're obviously at the front line of innovation, and it really speaks highly to being a smart city. And so I really like that. But to Alex's point, or Councilmember Saab's point, is we need to be able to ensure that we have the infrastructure in place before it's launched. Make sure that the app is up and running and is tested. And to our city manager's point too, make sure that we are testing it to ensure that it goes to the boots on the ground. And also that education piece to the public in making sure that the expectations, right? If it's weekend and holidays, what can the public expect? Because the worst thing that can happen is we're excited about something like this and we launch it, and the public then gets very poor response. And so it really backfires the good that we're trying to do for our city.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll test it out. What we'll do is we'll start at a park or two and see how it goes, and then test it out. And with any technology rollout, you're going to have some glitches, and we'll get it right. And then once we feel pretty comfortable with where it's at, we can really launch it and market it. But certainly it's something that I think that they really came up with a great idea. So thank you.
I have a question. Are there any other cities that you're aware of that use the QR code?
There aren't any other cities that I'm aware of that are using this for parkside amenities.
Even then, because we're already spending the $3,000 to put it on the app, which I just want to say, thank you for using the app as the old-fashioned way, because that was kind of funny. But seriously, just to do the QR code overlay, it's $350 and then $20 a month.
Yeah.
So we're not really talking a huge cost. I think it's good to at least try it on a sample basis. I think having a QR code on this is a great idea, but how many people really, are here for this? So I think when you're in a restroom and you see a problem and you wanting to tell somebody, and having that QR code there to say, hey, you know, this needs to be, I think you're going to, I believe you would get a little bit more response for that. So I think it's a good idea to at least try out, you know, maybe in a park or two and see how it works out.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I'll now open this item for public comment. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak regarding this matter?
There's only two.
So going back, system to provide a service. What is the definition of a service? Well, we're the customers and we have a demand. The demand is something is wrong, something is broken, something is not fixed the way we want it to operate. So we complain. So the complaint goes through a system. First go step 1, step 2. And if it doesn't get to step 6, guess what? Get back in line and start all over again. Because I'll tell you, I've walked into City Hall and made a complaint. I have to do a follow-up 3 days later because as an unsatisfied customer demanding service, I come back because I want to initiate that you don't blank with me. I'm here for business. I pay you. You do your job. Can't do your job because you're an adolescent, absent-minded, incoherent, and belligerently dumb, then maybe you should move on and find something that fits your attitude of going sitting in your car and playing with your little telephone, SpongeBob or something. That's the reason why things don't get fixed when we demand it. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, $3,000 for this app, or as you laughed about, this device, doesn't seem to be a cutting breakthrough in technology. Because now let me go back to the old way, like when we talked about, you know, having a backup radio. We can go back up as far as getting a pigeon and tiny little note on it, and phew, guess what? The pigeon lands, you get the note, we win the war, F them. We won a war over a little technology so simple as that. So when you want to weigh in on new technology, advise the public. See what our demands are first. We're the customers. We're the ones acquiring your service to provide it for our service. Because you're a service agency. So I want to believe, or should I not believe? So again, you know, something like that, you know, $228 a year for those little costly little stickers. You know, kids rub them out, kids put a sticker on them. Some guy goes and tags on them. You know, is it really breaking? I don't think so. The creation of quick response code. You know, a way of emergency disaster is not to scream fire. It's to acknowledge that there's a fire. Please exit safely. Not like when I was sitting at the movie theater and that little nice Quaker shaker had everybody standing and saying, what the hell do we do? Well, I'll tell you what the hell to do. Stay calm and exit quietly. Or best, just sit there and write it out. So there's many ways to critically think. But you obviously come up with your decisions already on our behalf because Mr. Olivas is happy with this. He's spending $3,000 to say how he used general fund money to cover this expense and then turn around and pull it out of another budget to fill in the missing expense of the general fund. So it's a cycle of using taxpayers' dollars to better the rolling bank account we have here at Downey. You know, we're close to $300 million, and we still haven't been able to come up with the efficiencies of technology. I mean, the smartest technology is to wait and hear it from your constituents and their complaints, and then bring it to us in a format where you advise the media, the Downey Patriot, saying, "Hey, we're having this particular meeting night. We're gonna call a motion to advise you that we're going to spend your taxpayers' dollars of $10,000 or like this measly $3,000 for this action. How do you feel about it? Do you want to weigh in or not, or let us as a council do it for you? Sometimes what council does is great, but many times what council does is offensive. Brings out the rage in me sometimes. But see, on this item, it's real simple. Even a third grade student can come in here and give you an answer as eloquent and as passionate as I attempt to do so. So I got to thank Jennifer H. Copps from the Moss Courts for giving me that First Amendment right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm actually here for an unrelated thing, but being a senior software engineer, I just saw that and was kind of curious about why the city of Downey would be paying a monthly fee. Seems like you guys already have the infrastructure to maintain everything on site and not be paying anyone. And then I'm not familiar with what they're using to actually develop it, but price seems a little bit high. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, sir.
Have a good night. Oh,
Thank you, sir.
and is there a public speaking, or did I miss that?
You're doing
entirely?
it.
All right, I need to talk to someone from Public Works about some street problems.
Sure,
So
okay.
I don't know who. That's
So
why I'm
after
here.
you get done, we'll have you talk to that guy, right, handsome guy in the glasses right there. There you go. Thank you. All right.
Second?
There's really no need to.
I'll make a
So
motion.
can you get a motion and a second to approve?
I want to thank staff also. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
So these are, there's 2 items that are before you. That's the staff's recommendation, items 1 and 2.
I'll make a motion to approve 1 and 2.
Yeah. Second?
Okay. Please vote. Okay.
Motion was approved unanimously.
Thank you, guys. Good job.
Nice work.
Great job.
Item 10, consider a revitalization of a city school district task force and appoint 2 city council members to serve on this task force. So earlier I spoke with our city attorney in regards to this. And so there's, I guess, a long history. Gilbert, maybe you want to brief us on?
Yes, there is a history on it, and actually, Maria, if you want to indulge her for just a quick minute, she can give you a little background on it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager Levis, and staff. The item presented before you this evening is a request from the Downey Unified School District to revitalize the City School District Task Force and appoint 2 City Council members to serve on the task force. So as City Manager Levis mentioned, I'm going to give you just a little brief history. The Joint Task Force was established July 27th, 1982 to collaborate on programs and project activities which would benefit both the city and the school district. The purpose of the task force was to allow the exchange of information between the city and school district on any issues of mutual interest or concern, and then take back those recommendations to their respective boards for their discussion and consideration. The members, oh, I don't even have the PowerPoint, sorry about that. There we go. So the members of the task force included 4 elected officials, 2 from the city council, 2 from the school district board members, as well as 3 ex officio members, 1 Parks and Recreation commissioner, city manager, and superintendent of the Downey Unified School District. The 4 elected officials served as voting members, whereas the ex officio members contributed to discussions but were not voting members. Several themes and topics were discussed. However, the common themes were after-school programming, community policing, traffic safety in and around schools, parking, project updates for both agencies. So basically, the school district, as I mentioned, and is included in your report, provided a letter to the city manager requesting to revitalize the task force and to appoint 2. They have already appointed 2 board members. Should you approve to appoint 2 council members, and they are requesting to meet on an annual basis. So that's, in a nutshell, the history of the task force. And that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy.
So Maria, does it have to be just an annual meeting, or I mean, it would be nice to make this a little more aggressive now we have the opportunity, make it a little more aggressive of a board, so they meet more than once a year.
Or like a quarterly
Yeah,
meeting.
Actually, it started out as a monthly, no, it went to quarterly?
It was
is that-
actually a quarterly meeting.
To
And then
biannual.
it went to twice a year, and then by the third year, it went to annual. It seems, just in reviewing various minutes from the previous meetings, that they weren't able to generate enough topics.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean, to-
right. And what was happening is that they were kind of just reporting on the
Yeah,
same things.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, and so in 2005, that's the last documented meeting
That was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot has changed in 14
yeah,
years.
a lot has changed.
I don't know about
Population
only
alone.
Not the school
quarterly
board.
or anything.
Not the school board.
But I mean, I would just think, like, annually, I think is a good way to start. And then obviously, if there's a need to meet, I mean, that we're not prevented from meeting outside of the annual thing.
Yeah. Sure.
I would just say, let's just stick
As
with,
needed.
if we're gonna do it, just stick with annual and see how it works. And if we need to have more, we can have more.
Yeah, why force it? I mean,
Yeah.
they'll figure it out.
So
Go ahead.
the next thing is who would serve. You would have to select amongst yourselves the two members.
I would like to nominate, I was gonna nominate the mayor and the mayor pro tem.
Well, I think.
But if-
Thank you, Sean, but I think Claudia has probably one of the best insights because she's got high school kids. She's got bad expression. She's got a dog in the fight. She's got young people engaged. So that really, and I disagree. I think that once a year, I mean, you'll forget in a year's time what you were talking about last year. I think it should be a little more than once a year, but it is what it is. But I would.
Well, I don't disagree, but I think they should decide. How
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
let's not
You're right.
force it.
Yeah.
Let's just,
Yeah.
they'll figure. And again, I just picked you two, but if
Yeah.
Claudia, I'm open to amend that
Yeah.
motion if,
I'm willing to serve as well.
Okay, there you go.
so then my motion is for Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Fermetta to serve on the task force.
Is this going to be like a thing that gets revisited every year by the mayor? How are we gonna decide? We haven't discussed that. How's that's going to be?
Who serves on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the board assignments now, I guess.
Yeah.
Annually.
You can bring it back annually, and then
When you do your appointments?
when you do your appointments, yeah.
Yeah,
And you know
every
what,
January.
I would like to propose I know the board or the task force will decide on meeting time, but for the record, I think it is important because this task force has been dormant for 14 years. It is important to, start for at least recommend meeting twice a year. There's a lot of issues going on in our schools that need to be discussed, and certainly a partnership between the city and the school district. It's a very good thing for us.
Sure.
But so
The task force.
So what's the task? What's the purpose of the task force? Hold on.
The purpose of the task force really is to.
Is this for them to ask us for money? Or
Well, I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a.
What I could find in the historical records is that it was to provide a forum for the exchange of information between the city and the school district on any issues of mutual interest or concern.
That sounds like asking us for money.
Yeah.
So I do caution that whoever serves on there, it shouldn't be a complaint fest on the schools or vice versa. I mean, there's got to be a purpose. I still don't know the.
Well,
if it's to sit down and talk, then that's great. But I mean, I also don't know why it wouldn't just be staff, why elected officials on there. But if that's what it said on years ago, I mean, I'm okay with it. But I also
No, I hear what you're saying. So I think that, I think we'll meet, we'll find out, we'll determine what needs to be said. I think what you're saying is going in, eyes open, because
I hope so.
i.e. one of the issues right now we're discussing is Aspire, right? And so they pay for it, but if it starts, there isn't money, and sort of say, oh, hey, you know what, these are all your residents, and who's going to pay?
School police,
Yeah,
Aspire. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of money issues that you, but there are things that sort of talk about. So I hear what you're saying is that we need to go in it with wise eyes wide open.
And who on staff would be going to these meetings as well?
Myself, for some reason, the way it's designated, I think because of the Aspire program and some of the joint use stuff is Parks Director. But at that time, we also didn't have the Columbia Memorial Space Center. So at some point, we may want to add that staff member. I don't want to make it, I don't want it to sort of grow and grow. It just, it should be, this particular, we can bring in staff when we need to bring in staff.
Yeah, that's kind of what it said here in the report, that, staff members as needed would include the city secretary, director of community services, assistant superintendent, whatever.
Right. It was all based on the topics discussed. They would bring in the appropriate staff.
Okay, no further questions?
So then, just to go back to the one question that Councilmember Saab brought up, is we'll just do the appointments when we do the annual?
Yeah.
All right.
That's probably seems reasonable.
So I'll now open this item for public comment. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak during this item? There you go. Yeah.
Mayor, I got you.
Yes, sir.
2 other documents for the record.
Well, I'll be up all night reading.
School Title I funds, that's the whole idea here. This is about extortion, One company asking another company for a little extra money because they don't know how to manage their books. So, as you heard, we got these officers, some from our city, some from the school district, but you didn't hear anything about a stakeholder from the community. I thought this was about a community city school district task force. I didn't believe or can't consent to the item because I'm hearing it. This is between City of Downey and the District of Downey School. So, yeah, there are important things to talk about. 14 years of not having a particular conversation between 2 local entities that take federal and state funds not too seriously is a concern. And the public should know that when a school and a city accepts funds, especially like federal dollars, they have to match that federal dollars specifically to that matching fund. And when it comes to the state, nobody cares because you heard about Sacramento, nothing but thugs. Ridley Thomas' son Sebastian is a good example of that, but I'm not going to get too much into that because all you know about Ridley Thomas fixing his garage into a home and calling it a school, I can't believe that. But this new word I'm introduced to, the ex officios, see? Ex officios to me sounds pretty lame. Why can't you just say our customer service committees or groups that are going to sit into this entertainment of task force? But the real problem what's happening in schools is that, as you heard regarding charter schools in the most current news, is that those guys make a hell of a buck. $300,000 a year. Taking your taxpaying dollars out of a public school to fund a charter school by corrupted educators. But see, they're not educators, they're just fools falling into the game of teaching and stealing public monies to entertain themselves for a lump salary. As you heard in my promotion, is that the chief of police should be driving a Maserati as opposed to these damn thieves stealing monies from the taxpayers. All of you who weigh in on a job, this meagerly $15 an hour job, and pay for these so-called exciting ventures of trips these people take with your monies. See, there's nothing wrong in giving back to the schools that give back to our students and to our community. We have excellent educators who care, who put their heart, their passion, and that's why they end up sick or getting into trouble. I know one in particular from LAUSD. But I won't tell you what he did when he sued the school district 2 times on a workers' comp and beat them twice. I won't tell you what they did to him, but you're hearing him for the first time saying how he kicked their ass as a city member, as a council member, as a constituent stakeholder in the community who fought for the advocacy of not just the schools, but that of his growing city. And how was he crushed? Well, the two conspirators who have these committees, city has a committee with the school liaison has a committee with the health and education and welfare of children in the city, brought by the mayor. In this particular case, I'm going to mention Eric Garcetti, because so far Rick Rodriguez hasn't done anything bad or said anything wrong to our children in our schools, other than that he wants to improve our education. He gets thumbs up.
Thank you.
But however, at this point in time, you see, we got to manage our bucks and match them to our dollar. We got to break up that system of those charter schools who've allowed members of that staff to steal our public dollars, misuse federal and state dollars. It almost sounds like that USC event where the families were paying for a certificate to recognize their children as in high education and improving in the well-being of their children's so-called education.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Anybody else? Is there a motion and a second to revitalize the city school district task force and appoint Claudia Fermetta and Blanca Pacheco to serve on this task force?
Second.
Please vote.
Orlando.
Oh,
That's why they don't work.
there we go.
The motion was approved unanimously.
All right.
City Manager Levis, do you have any comments you'd like to share with the audience?
Actually, I do have one thing that I'd like to share. Tonight, you saw the innovation team come up. They were the second half of a two-part that came up with some good ideas. Over the years, we've managed to save probably about $500,000, whether it's lighting or other things that they've come up with to save money and efficiencies. And so one of the things that we recently did is we applied for this International City County Management Association award for performance, and it's based on using metrics. So it was recently announced that the City of Downey was earned a certificate of achievement in performance management in recognition of its data-driven management reporting efforts. So we were among 17 jurisdictions nationally to receive the certificate. So it's a big deal. It means that, I always say what gets measured gets done, and we've been able to do that. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that people don't see, but we employ a management by objectives procedure that we really follow. We monitor what we do. You got an annual report the council gets every year at the end of the year. We do quarterly monitoring of those goals. And so I want to thank the department heads and this city council for that achievement, because it is a big achievement. I mean, it's not exactly the most sexy thing, but it really speaks to what the city does and how they do it. And so the achievement of that award is a big deal amongst those of us who are in the profession. So thank you very much.
Thank you, City Manager Levis. Congratulations. Good job. So before I adjourn this evening, I want to share with you a little story about a friend of mine that was just recently this week was just promoted to become a judge. So long before I met this guy, Alex Saab, I knew his brother, Dennis Saab. And Dennis Saab was just recently sworn in as a judge, and we're very proud of him. He's a local boy that volunteers a lot in our city. He's helped a lot of people, including, I'll be the first guy to raise my hand, but I couldn't be more proud of a guy like Dennis Saab to become a judge at the State Bar Office. So congratulations, Dennis Saab. And then also tonight, I'd like to adjourn the meeting in memory of Sacramento Police Department Officer Tara O'Sullivan. So a moment of silence, please. Meeting adjourned.